Hey, it's Sparky Forever, 1250 a.m. The Fan, beautiful Milwaukee, Wisconsin. How y'all doing here on a Monday evening? The Bucks somehow or another escaped with a victory. Two victories escaped with between Saturday's high score and shootout and tonight's 122 to 113 Bucks victory over the Detroit Pistons. I had a buddy text me who's a casual Bucks fan. Text me, goes, the Bucks stink. Well, record says no, they don't stink. Eye test, sometimes they look like they stink. I'll give you that. But record wise, no, they don't stink based on record. Bench, there's no bench on this team. I mean, the bench is just trash at this point. It really is. There's really nothing. I mean, Portis is the closest that you have. Crowder's trying to find his way and his rhythm, and hopefully he'll get back in the swing of things. I mean, he hit that three, and it looked like the weight of the world was lifted off of his shoulders when he finally hit that three in this game in the second half. There's just not much there at all. Jackson plays hard, and he plays hard. I will leave it at that. So there's just not a lot there, Marzion, and I think that's going to be kind of one of the things that you look at the trade deadline. We'll get more into that later in the podcast as far as the trade deadline goes. But not only are we talking about a wing defender, they got to find somebody that can do something consistently off of this bench at this point.
Yeah, that is my main takeaway from these two games is, I don't think that this team is overall bad, but the bench is clearly really bad. I just posted I know you're not a big plus minus guy, but when you look at just the starters versus bench plus minus in these two games, I mean, both games it was incredible. All the starters had positive plus minus by a decent margin, and all the bench guys had negative plus minus. If you combine the two games, Giannis was plus 25, Dame was plus 38, Khris was plus 16, Brook was plus 33, Beasley was plus 43. And then on the bench, Bobby minus 25, Jay minus 19, Pat minus 27, Andre Jackson minus 9. The only bench guy that was decent tonight was Andre Jackson. He had a good stretch, especially in the second quarter. But yeah, the bench has been killing them. It seems like as soon as they always start the game, it seems like decently well when the starters are playing. They have a good open to the third quarter when the starters are playing, and then they have to wait kind of until the starters get back in to close the game, and then they have a good closing, good closing minutes. But in between, it's just very iffy when you bring in Bobby and you're bringing in Pat and you're bringing in, Jay Crowder was bad tonight. So that's the main takeaway for me. I don't think that overall they played. I don't think that overall, there's any other long-term takeaways for me for these, because at the end of the day, these were two outlier shooting performances. Last game, it was the Pistons outlier shooting 57% from three. And then this game, it was the Bucks outlier shooting 25% from three. I mean, if the Bucks shoot 35%, they're winning this game by 20 points. And it was the same with if the Pistons just shot 40% instead of 60% on Saturday, the Bucks win that game by 20-something points. Like, I'm not, the games were close because, yeah, the Pistons were red hot last game and the Bucks were ice cold this game. I don't expect those things to ever, be continuing long term. So I'm not worried about those things. The only thing that I think is a long term takeaway from these games is the bench stuff. You have to get some bench help here, and I trust Horst. I trust that Horst will. I think that his past has shown that he's going to go get someone at the deadline, someone to come in here and be a sixth or seventh guy for us. So that's the only big takeaway I have from these two games.
Chris Haynes, NBA insider, said on his podcast that the Bucks and John Horst were being very aggressive in trying to make moves here coming up on the trade deadline. So what that ends up being, we'll have to wait and see. But obviously, they're not sitting with their hands underneath their legs and not doing anything. Obviously, John Horst, a mentor, John Hammond, a mentor of John Horst. I call John Hammond Trader John because every year he did something, one way or the other. He was making a trade. He never sat still. And it appears John Horst is the same way. Follow Nathan Marzion on Twitter at Nathan Marzion. You can follow me at Sparky Radio. Download the Green and Growing Podcast on your Odyssey app, or if you download your favorite podcast app. Tell your friends, tell your family. More time now can be dedicated to the Bucks as fans because Packer season's over. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Adrian Griffin, if you don't mind. I was listening to the flagship pregame show leading up to the Bucks tonight. Had it on in the car while I was driving around, and Adrian Griffin was talking about this Bucks defense and said that he sees progress, that he sees them starting to figure it out, and they're headed in the right direction, and they're eventually going to get it. And Jim Ozarski in the back of the room, so at least what it sounded like on the radio that he was in the back of the room, pretty much said, well, I mean, is there a sense of urgency here? Do you really want them to finally figure it out come the first week of April and have like 2 weeks of actually kind of playing, knowing how they're doing it, anything like that? And he just reiterated that they're going to get it. Not worried about it. I can see on tape that they're getting it and we're going in the right direction. So for those of you that want them to change defenses, that is not occurring. And he is standing behind that this defense is working and that it's going to continue to work and it's going to continue to get better going forward. So he is both feet in on this defense and we're not changing it. And this is going to work. I watched this game tonight. I watched that last game against the Pistons. I don't know what he sees. Obviously, I'm not an NBA coach, but I clearly don't see what he sees. I mean, I see the same type of stuff game in and game out attacking this Bucks team. And seemingly there are no answers game in and game out of what's going on here. When you go shot for shot back and forth with the freaking Detroit Pistons, multiple games, and we could talk about outliers if they don't shoot well, if they're shooting really well, doesn't matter. I mean, they had problems.
Yes, it does matter though. Yes, it does matter.
Problems. No, they had problems stringing stops against the Pistons both games. You could say, well, they were red hot that game. Okay, well, they weren't red hot this game, and they still couldn't stop them. It was going back and forth, back and forth. And even Novak said, every time they score, Detroit has an answer. It's the Pistons. They have 4 wins. At some point, this should not be a game. You yourself on Twitter said, was it today? I think it was today that you looked at this and go, well, Pistons don't shoot that well. This should be a blowout. It wasn't no damn blowout. It was point for point to the 4-minute mark of this game. It was embarrassing for 2 games watching this crap.
Sparky, because the Bucks then shot like crap from 3. I don't expect either of those things to continue.
What does it have to do with defense? Who cares what they shoot like? I'm talking about the
because that was the whole reason the game was close. The game would not have been close if the Bucks shot normal from 3. And the Bucks had a 109 defense.
They don't play defense.
Rookie, the Bucks had a 109 defensive rating tonight. That would be second in the NBA. They had a good defensive rating tonight. They were not bad.
4 wins. They got 4 wins, 100,
and they had a defensive rating that reflected that.
What does every other team have with their defensive rating in one game when they play the Pistons with their 4-win team? I mean, again, it's one game. That's great, but I'm telling you, and nobody was pointing it out as it was happening. Bucks would score, Pistons would score. Back and forth we go like a ping pong ball. And you're telling me, well, their defense was really good, Spark. I mean, that's fine. I don't think it was good at all. No.
109 defensive rating, that would be second in the league. Like that, they allowed 109. They allowed 109 points per 100 possessions. That is not bad at all.
For a 4-win team, wonderful.
You can't change your argument though. You can't say the defense sucked and then say, oh well, the defense was good, but it was against a 4-win. I
never said the defense was good. You're saying the defense was good against a 4-win team.
I'm just saying, I just gave you a stat that the defense was good, and you say, well, it's a 4-win team. Doesn't matter.
Tell you what, Nathan, when they do that against Boston with your 109 rating, then we got something. When you do it against the worst team in the league, I don't care about the numbers against a 4-win team. When you just played them, and
they had a better defensive rating against Boston. They had a better defensive rating against Boston than they did tonight. You just asked me for them to do it against Boston. They were amazing defensively against Boston a week and a half ago.
What was the rating in that game?
I think 99.
Okay, fine. And you got me on that one. Fine. But to me, I don't think their defense is very good. I mean, if you want to get behind this defense,
good in general. I don't think it's good in general. I think these last 2 games, the defense has not been a huge issue. The first game, you can't help sometimes when they shot 21 of 37 from 3, and a lot of them were contested. And I mean, you can sit there and say, oh, well, that's the defense allowing 135 points. If a team shoots 21 of 37 from 3, they're going to score a crap ton of points. I don't care who it is. And you can say it's the Pistons. The Pistons did not play like the Pistons on Saturday. They played like a good team on Saturday.
It always goes when we play a bad team. Well, they played better than their record against the Bucks.
They shot 21 of 37. What are you supposed to do when a team shoots 21 of 37? Because they were guarding the 3-point line.
They did. They guarded it fairly well on Saturday.
So what are you complaining about then? If they're guarding the 3-point line and the team is making threes, what is the complaint?
Were those the only shots they took? Were 21 shots the whole game? Was that all they took?
Sparky, on Tuesday,
they had open shots in that game. If you don't think they took open shots in that game, you should go back and watch that game. Yes, they contested some of the threes. I agree. But it wasn't like they didn't have open shots. Tonight, I'm watching guys drive up. Brooks looking at them. They stop, pull up in front of Brook, boop, from 15 feet. Stop, pull up in front of Brook, boop, from 15 feet. Over and over and over, we were doing the same old thing. And the Bucks had nothing.
They shot 40% from 2 on Saturday. So I don't know. They were good on defense outside of it, even including the threes. But if you just take away the threes, They were good on defense. They didn't allow a ton of 2-point shots on Saturday. They just the Pistons hit a ton of threes to make it look like it was way worse than it was. And then tonight, overall, I thought the Bucks were not that bad. They had bad stretches, they had bad moments, but the Pistons shot whatever. I mean, I'm trying to pull up the numbers what they shot tonight. You have a 109 defensive rating is very much good. That is completely fine. The Pistons shot 10 of 30 on threes, and they shot, what is that, 30 of 69 or 30 of 59 on twos. So they shot about 50% on twos, which is not great, not terrible.
Yeah, they shot 45% from the field. The Bucks shot 45%. I'm rounding up, 44.9, 44.7, 45% from the field. Pistons shot 33% from three on 30 shots. Bucks shot 25.5% from three on 39 shots. So they took 9 more shots from three than the Pistons did. They both made 10 of them at the end of the day. And again, 122, 113, Bucks over the Pistons. So again, if we're going to disagree on this, I'm fine disagreeing with you on this one way or the other. But when you play a 4-win team and you're supposedly going to be this team that's going to be that team at the end, especially after that last game, and I agree with you when I saw it on Twitter, like, okay, come back, blow these boys out, show them who the boss is, and let's roll. And that just never, ever got going in this game. It never happened. They were never that far out in front.
And I would be more concerned about it if it was because of the defense. It wasn't. It was because the offense couldn't hit anything tonight, and it kept the Pistons in the game. So then, yes, you're going shot for shot against these guys late, but it never would have been that close had the Bucks shot a normal percentage from three. They would have been up a lot more in this game, and it wouldn't seem as bad as it was. I don't think anything about these games being close was sustainable or anything I'm long-term worried about. I'm not worried about teams shooting 57% from three on us in the long term. And I'm not worried about the Bucks shooting 25%, and they were worse than that for most of this game. They were like 18% from three. I think they were 3 of 17 in the first half, and then at the end of the third quarter, I want to say they were 6 for 31. If you shoot 6 of 30, and they still have the lead. I mean, I know it's the Pistons, but you're shooting 6 of 31. Like, it's going to be hard to keep a lead when you're shooting 6 for 31.
So do you say if you're the coach and you're that cold from three, do you say keep shooting them, guys? Because that's what Bud would say. Keep shooting them, or do you come up with a different plan of attack for your team when you're that cold from three?
I mean, I'm not going to tell guys like Dame or Chris or Beasley to stop shooting. I would say, obviously, maybe let's try to get it into Giannis or Lopez more, which I thought they did late. But if you're going to get open, I mean, Beasley had a ton of open looks tonight.
Yeah, he was 3 of 8 from three. Lillard was 2 of 10 from three.
Yeah, and so, I mean, it's just like, and then the whole bench, I mean, you're 0 for 3 from Bobby, 1 of 4 from Jay, 0 of 1 from Pat, 0 of 1 from Andre Jackson. And Giannis took 5 threes, which didn't help. But I don't know. I don't think that 6 of 31 through 3 quarters, like, that's not something I'm ever worried about. That's going to be a long-term thing because they've shown us they can shoot the ball. They can score the ball a ton this year. So I look at that and say, okay, let's close this out. Let's get a win. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit closer than we wanted because we shot like crap. But if the shooting in either of these games was normal, the Bucks would win the game by, like, statistically, the Bucks would have won the game by 25 points or whatever it would be if the shooting in these games was normal in both games. And I don't think we'd be having the same conversation just because of some shots that went in or out. And again, if the Bucks were giving up wide open threes in that first game, and you could say, well, you can't just assume the shooting will go down because they gave up wide open looks. I get that. They were not. The Bucks did not give up wide open looks all game in that first game. The Pistons shot lights out. If the Bucks were not getting good looks in this game, you could say, well, why are you assuming that the shots should go in? They were getting wide open looks. So I'm not worried about either of those things continuing. It was an outlier shooting night the first night. It was an outlier shooting night the second night. They still won both of the games, despite having an outlier shooting night against them in both nights. And this game, again, I'd be much more upset right now if this was a close game because the defense continued to suck and because they allowed them to just completely torch them from two. And again, there was a stretch of time where, yeah, like they were going a little, shot for shot with this team for like 4 minutes, but you allowed 56 in the first half, and which is not a bad number, and you allowed 109 points per 100 possessions. I don't know what the big gripe is with the defense with this game. I understand the defense as a whole, I understand that there's concerns about the defense in general. These last 2 games, I have not watched this defense and been like, this defense is awful. This defense sucks. I think the bench defense is a problem. I have not seen it in general that they have played bad defense in these 2 games. And I haven't seen that.
He is Nathan Marzian. Follow him on Twitter at Nathan Marzian. Steve Sparky Fiber. Follow me at Sparky Radio. Of course, download the Green and Growing app on your Odyssey app, or download your favorite podcast app. And you can also stream us live on the Odyssey Sports YouTube page as well. Make sure to do that as well. Okay, so let's move on and take a quick timeout. We'll come back on the other side. Khris Middleton became the third leading scorer on the Bucks all-time scoring list. So third on the list, passing Glenn Big Dog Robinson. Hit a shot there towards the end of the game. Let's talk about Middleton and kind of how he's remembered in Milwaukee, maybe when this whole thing is said and done. That's next here on Green and Growing. Hey, it's Sparky Pfeiffer, 1250 AMthefan.com, along with my guy, Nathan Marzian. Follow me at Sparky Radio. Follow him at Nathan Marzian. Khris Middleton with a basket late there in the game gets a third all-time on the Bucks scoring list, passing Glenn Big Dog Robinson. And I was debating in my head, okay, we can do Middleton versus Glenn Big Dog Robinson. And then I'm like, oh, Nathan's a little young. He's not going to remember all of Big Dog's career necessarily, so we can't do that. But this is something I do want to do. So you're going to have, Giannis is going to have a statue. He's going to have his jersey retired, right? He might have a stadium named after him before this whole thing is said and done when they move into their new stadium after Fiserv. So he's going to get everything, right? He'll have a street. They may change the name of Milwaukee to Giannis. Who knows? But Khris Middleton is a guy, as Nathan will agree with, who is a lightning rod amongst Bucks fans and has been a lightning rod forever. And Middleton played pretty good tonight as far as being able to score the basketball when they needed him to. Now, having said that, how is this dude going to be remembered? I mean, are they going to retire his jersey? Is he going to get a statue? Like, how is this dude going to go down? Because Big Dog, when he was doing his thing, it was Ray versus Big Dog. You were either a Ray fan or a Big Dog fan. There was a small portion that were fans of both, but for whatever reason, before that whole thing broke up, you were a fan of one or the other, and people to this day still don't remember Glenn Robinson in the same light as they remember Ray Allen. Not saying that you should ever remember Middleton in the same light as Giannis. Not saying that. Just how will he be remembered? Because right now, third all-time on the Bucks scoring list, that by itself, he should get way more praise and adoration than he currently does from Bucks fans, Nathan.
He's always been extremely underappreciated by Bucks fans, and I get it. He's not the flashiest player. He's never been insanely consistent. He's going to have his dud. He's going to have his ugly moments, but he's always been so underappreciated because he's just such a sturdy guy. He's such a, he's been a 20 point per game, 5 rebound, 5 assist guy for many years now, the perfect number 2 for a while alongside Giannis, and now a really good number 3 as he's gotten older. So obviously came through huge in that 2021 playoff run, which to me completely solidified his legacy. Like, he's getting his jersey retired. That is no doubt about it. Khris is going to have his number in the rafters. When you average 26 a game or 25 a game in the finals, whatever it was at, you're getting your number retired. And he's been, again, I've always been frustrated by how underappreciated he's been. Even before the whole title run, it was just like, this guy can be the number 2. Like, this guy you can win a title with this guy as your number 2. You probably need a good number 3 too. I don't think you can win just with Giannis and Khris. I don't think that's a good enough duo to win on its own, but I was always like, you can get a better third guy in here, which they did with Drew, and win a title. And again, I'm very pleased and grateful that Khris proved me right with that, and had that playoff run. Even when Giannis went down with the injury, he came up huge and had a 30-point game to get them to the finals, had a 40-point game in the finals. Just what he's done throughout his career here, and then to do that also, to win the title as well. It's like he's on the Bucks Mount Rushmore. There is an argument to be made that he's like the third best or greatest Buck of all time, not in terms of best player to ever play for the Bucks, but just the greatest Buck as far as what you accomplished with the Bucks. He's one of the one of the greatest players in this franchise's history. And
let's take it to another step. People will say Scottie Pippen is in because of Michael Jordan. Scottie Pippen is one of the 50 greatest of all time because of Michael Jordan and all the championship rings he won. If the Bucks with Giannis and Middleton win another championship, is Khris Middleton a Hall of Famer?
if he's I mean, if he plays well and he's putting up near 20 a game in that series, he's a Hall of Famer.
Now think
That's true.
about that. I agree with you. Yeah, I agree.
And I know, I mean, again, when you say this stuff, like I say, he's one of the best players in history. Like that doesn't. I know he has his ugly moments. I know he has his bad games. He was, he's always been like that. He's not a superstar player. He's not going to be great every single night. But just when you talk about an important piece on this is the greatest stretch of Bucks basketball we've ever seen over an extended period of time here. Like this is the greatest 6-year stretch in Bucks history, and he has been the number 2 and now for 1 year number 3 guy in that stretch. It's like he's completely, he's totally important to this whole thing, and he's been the guy that's been here since the bad days. That's another thing that I appreciate about him is him and Giannis both getting here at the same time, being here since they won 15 games in
Right.
2013. It's 11 years now here. Like that is to play 11 years with a franchise, win a title, average 20 a game multiple times, be a multi-time all-star, have a finals run where you're averaging 25. It's like a finals game where you put up 40. That stuff, not many guys can say they've done that with a franchise. And again, it's always frustrated me how underappreciated he's been, and people constantly, thinking they need to upgrade him or they need to move him and they need to get someone else. And then he had to deal with the injury stuff, which even further, kind of overblew all that stuff of, they need to get rid of him. He's old and injury prone and washed up and all that stuff. It's like, I'm glad he, shut that down for a little bit, at least in 2021. I thought it would be shut down forever after he had such a great finals run and won them a title with Giannis. But I mean, we're back to doing it again, I guess. So, I mean, he's going to have to do it again to really shut up the haters again. But hey, I believe they can do it.
It's funny. I just always think of the Jabari Parker impact and how this whole thing is different. If Jabari never gets hurt, and is the guy that everybody thought he was coming out of college, how Middleton probably isn't here long term, about Giannis and how long it takes him to actually become that dominant guy if Jabari's the guy they go to, in those first couple of years to be that scorer, because Giannis wasn't at that level yet when Jabari got here. And Giannis really didn't get to that level until Jabari wasn't playing and wasn't healthy. And that's kind of when he took off. It's just Jabari being hurt just kind of set all of this up to play out this way. And if it doesn't go that way and he ends up being the scorer that they thought he was going to be, now again, defensively, he didn't care. But I'm saying offensively, had he been that guy that was going to score, 22 to 25 a night or whatever it was, Milton's probably not here. Probably not there for the title run, probably never a part of it. And because of that injury, Giannis blows up and Middleton is able to show what he's got and they both stay. So pretty cool stuff. All right, we got one more segment coming up. I saw a tweet. I don't know if you saw it, Nathan, from In Giannis We Trust. And he put out, rank these players in terms of who you'd want on the Bucks, right? Dejounte Murray, Bruce Brown, Kevin Huerter, Quentin Grimes, Matisse Thybulle, Alex Caruso, Herb Jones. We'll see what Nathan Marzian says to that. Don't forget, download us on your Odyssey app, or you download your favorite podcast app. You can also stream us on the Odyssey Sports YouTube page. Don't forget, follow, like, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications. Back after this on Green and Growing. Hey, it's Sparky Pfeiffer, 1250 a.m. The Fan, along with my guy, Nathan Marzian. Follow him at Nathan Marzian. Follow me at Sparky Radio. Also, check out Nathan's, Twitter Spaces, or is it X Spaces? What do they call
Twitter.
it now?
You're calling it Twitter.
I'm surprised Elon hasn't changed that Spaces thing to something else. Isn't he trying to go to the moon and whatever else he's trying to do in his spare time? Okay, so Marzian, this tweet or thing in Giannis We Trust, rank these players in terms of who you'd want on the Bucks. Dejounte Murray, Bruce Brown, Kevin Huerter, Quentin Grimes, Matisse Thybulle, Alex Caruso, Herb Jones. Tell you what, we don't got to do all these. Just give me your top 3 guys that you would want. Your top 3 guys on that list who you'd want to see the Bucks get at the trade deadline.
I'm glad you said 3, because there is a clear top 3 to me. And now I don't think these top 3 are realistic, but these are the 3 of these names. These are the 3.
I mean, Lillard wasn't realistic either. We didn't think. Yeah. Somehow or another, Horse figured that out.
No, I know. I'm just saying I'm not predicting that they get any of these guys. Right. But the top 3 to me are Alex Caruso, Herb Jones, and Bruce Brown. Like those are the 3 that to me are dream scenarios. And again, I don't expect those to go down, but I have those as my top 3. And then, I mean, I actually ranked I replied to his tweet and ranked them. So I had Caruso, Herb Jones, Bruce Brown, My next two are Quentin Grimes and Matisse Thybulle, which I think are both realistic. Those are my most realistic ones in that group. And those guys are both defenders, so I'll put them next. And then I have DeJounte Murray and Kevin Huerter as my last two. DeJounte is interesting. I just don't know how the fit is. I don't trust the defense totally. And to me, I'm like, if I'm going to make a trade and make some type of splat, it has to be for defense. Like I just, and maybe Murray would be a better defender than I think, but for me, that's one that would be interesting if they got DeJounte Murray. I wouldn't hate it, but I would not be like, oh my goodness, this is the missing piece we've needed. And then Kevin Huerter is more of just, he's a little bit too much of like Pat Connaughton to me. He's a better Pat Connaughton, but he's just he's a guy we kind of already have. So I'm not really interested in him. But to me, the three ones that are like really good defenders, really, really good role players that I think are absolute, best case scenarios for this team are Caruso, Herb Jones, and Bruce Brown.
I would say it would be Bruce Brown, Herb Jones for me. I refuse. I can't get down with Caruso. Just like I couldn't get down with Dellavedova when that damn thing happened. I can't. I don't like the guy. I can't stand him. I don't want him on my team. So I don't care about if he'll help the team or not. I just don't like him, so I can't put him on my list. So having said that, what'd you say?
Smart. What about Marcus Smart?
Absolutely not. No, I hate him more than I hate Caruso.
No. That's how I feel about Marcus Smart.
Yeah,
like,
no.
I can't do it.
Yeah, no. I know Marcus Smart either. No. And he may help the Bucks. Not saying he won't. Can't stand him. No. So for me would be Grimes, just because I like the upside of Grimes and what he might be able to come. They're trying to get younger and try and build for the future a little bit here while still staying in the present. So I really like the Grimes deal if you can pull that off. Murray, I'm with you. I just don't know defensively what he gives you. Now, if they're looking at this saying, okay, well, we're not going to stop anybody anyhow. So we're going to have to outscore people. And maybe that means that Murray comes off the bench. I don't know. And Beasley starts and Murray becomes that sixth man and you try and sell Murray. That sixth man. I don't think it's going to work. But you would have to make sure he's down for being that sixth man, I think, before you make that deal. You can't make that trade and then get him here. And he goes, hell no, I'm not being the sixth man. I can finish games. You see what I did the other night? Do you see Trae Young calling for the ball? I was like, I've got it. Goes down and boom, hits the game-winning shot, right? And he takes the glory. That's kind of where I think he wants to be. He wants to be kind of that guy at the end, and you've already got that guy in Damian Lillard at the end of games already. But again, we talked about how bad this bench scoring is. He'd improve the scoring. But if he's got to be in the starting lineup, then I don't know, man. There's not enough basketballs to go around. There's just not between Middleton and Lillard and Giannis and Murray and Lopez. Oh, my God. Like, somebody's got to go to the bench and be that guy off the bench. Murray makes the most sense to be that guy off the bench. I just don't think he'll buy into it, Nathan.
Yeah. Again, it would really change a lot of things. And again, I'm not 100% sure it makes you better. I just think it makes you different. It could very well make them better. If they got DeJounte Murray, I would not be totally upset about it. It's just I wouldn't be thrilled either. I'd be like, I gotta wait and see what this looks like. I do like Grimes though, and especially because you could probably get him for potentially like Marjan 2 seconds. Like that is a chance. He's only $2 million a year, so he's a cheap contract. So that one's one of the more realistic ones that I like because he does play defense, and he's shown the ability to shoot and be a little bit of a scorer as well. So that would probably be, if we're talking just realistic, that I think they actually have a pretty good chance of getting. He would be my number one on this list. But as far as just straight up players, like Caruso, to me, I don't love Caruso either, but just as a player and as a fit, I think he'd be perfect alongside Dame. A guard that you can put there that is arguably the best point of attack defender in the league, or one of them. And then Herb Jones, a fantastic wing defender, can shoot a little.
Jones. Yep.
And obviously we've seen what Bruce Brown can do as a role player, being a great glue guy in the playoffs. So again, those three to me are like such proven great role players that I have to put them top three. As just like the guys that I feel like there's almost no risk to me bringing guys like that in. It's just like I'm almost just like that 100% makes you better. Whereas again, DeJounte Murray would be intriguing, but I'm like, I don't know if that 100% makes you better. And you might have to, I don't know what, if they get Murray, they might have to give up Brook. Like there's a chance that that's the case. And at that point, I'm like, I don't think that that's worth it. I don't want to give up Brook Lopez to get another, ball handler scorer in here. I'd rather just get a defender, a nice defender on the wing and live with it.
It's Nathan Marzian. Follow him on Twitter at Nathan Marzian. Follow me at Sparky Radio. That'll do it for another edition of Green and Growing. We're back at it again Thursday night. Download these bad boys Tuesday and Friday mornings. And of course, on the Odyssey Sports YouTube page as well. Enjoy the rest of your day, evening, whatever the case may be while you're listening to this. Have a good one. Toodles.